And good evening and welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Murfreesboro City School Board. We're glad to have those of you that are with us tonight in our presence, and we're also glad to have those of you that are watching from home on television or iPad or laptops or whatever the case may be. At this time, we would like to ask our three young men, two from Black Fox, Sam Powers, and also Max Powers, and then also Tracy Weatherly from Northfield, if they would please come forward and lead us in our pledge, followed then by a moment of silence. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Tracy, come back to see us real soon. Ms. Baker?
All right, our first order of business tonight is to elect the board chair. It's that time of the year to elect board chair and vice chair. According to board policy 1.200 and according to state statute TCA 49-2-202 and section 25-6 of the Murfreesboro City Code, board officers are to be elected annually. The state statute mandates that the board only elect a board chair. However, our board policy mandates that we have a chair and a vice chair. So first what we'll do tonight is I will take nominations for a board chair, which will be followed by a roll call for votes, and then nominations will be taken for vice chair and then followed by a roll call for the vice chair. It does take a majority of the entire board, not just those present, so that means 4 votes, to elect someone as board chair and vice chair. And board officers cannot be elected by acclamation. And after nominations have been made and seconded, Ms. Van Cleve will call the roll, and you need to state the name of the nominee that you are voting for. Right? First, I will call for nominations for board chair.
I'd like to nominate Butch Campbell.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, I'll have Ms. Van Cleve call the roll.
I vote for Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell. Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Congratulations, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, ma'am, very much.
Now I will take nominations for the vice chair.
I would be happy to nominate Nancy Rainier, excuse me.
I'd like to nominate Jared Barrett.
Thanks.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, I'll have Ms. Van Cleve call the roll. And please state who you're voting for after she calls your name.
Miss Rainier.
Mr. Barrett.
Ms. Rainier?
Ms. Rainier.
Mr. Neer.
Jared Barrett.
Ms. Rainier.
Okay. And it appears Ms. Rainier will be our vice chair. Right.
Well, on behalf of myself, I say thank you, board. I appreciate your vote of confidence and just hope that we can continue. We've had a really good year the last 2 years since Ms. Wade left. We miss her very much, but we have been a very well together working board, and I hope that that will continue, and I appreciate your vote of confidence for chair for another year.
As do I.
Thank you both for taking on the leadership and the extra commitment that goes with it.
Thank you for trusting us to do that.
All right, we need to have approval of the agenda. You have the agenda in front of you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. King. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Barrett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. All right, communications, Dr. Gilbert.
I'm going to ask Lisa Trail to come to the podium, please, for communications.
Hey, good afternoon. As you know, Murfreesboro City Schools has some of the best and brightest, and we want to take time to congratulate them today. School psychologist Alison Payne has passed all exams and met criteria for recertification as an OVEAS Bullying Prevention Program trainer. That's a lot of work to do there. Stephanie Stavanoga, one of our behavioral specialists, has completed coursework and has been licensed as a licensed professional counselor, or LPC. Board members Jared Barrett has achieved Level 3 status, and Collier Smith has achieved Level 2 status with the Tennessee School Boards Association. City Schools is also pleased to announce that Kim Frank and Kevin Templeton will be presenting at the state's LEAD conference in late October. Their session will be titled Moving Upstream, A School System Story in Prevention and Intervention. They'll share the journey of Murfreesboro City as we have addressed the behavioral and emotional needs of our students. One of our gifted specialists, Christine Winterbrook, she's one of our new gifted specialists, will be presenting at the Tennessee Association for Gifted Conference on October 19th through 21st in Chattanooga. Murfreesboro City Schools Community Outreach would like to thank the MTSU Office of Student Organizations and Service and the Student Government Association for their donation of 900 snack packs to supplement the backpack food program with Murfreesboro City Schools. The donation was in conjunction with the MTSU Day of Service. Murfreesboro City Schools has received an Adverse Childhood Experiences Initiative grant, and that's a mouthful, in the amount of $200,000. The grant is from the Department of Children's Services and will provide support and behavioral health for our children and families. Also, Murfreesboro City Schools would like to thank many businesses that adopted our schools as part of the Hometown Huddle, which is a United Way initiative. Scales Elementary was adopted by Home Depot, Cason Lane by the Parks Group, Mitchell Nielsen Primary by Miller Lowry Beach Insurance, Northfield was adopted by Yates Services, Discovery School by the Rutherford County Government. So if you go by, you will see new gardens and some upkeep that went into our playgrounds. For the 2016-17 school year, Murfreesboro City Schools was awarded the Leach Grant in the amount of $405,000 to serve students at six of our schools. These funds provide tutoring and extended learning opportunities for students in the extended school program. Cason Lane teacher Deanna Seacrest was the winner of a $1,000 mini grant for math manipulatives or technology. It's her choice. For her classroom at last weekend's Tennessee Mathematics Teachers Association Conference at MTSU. St. Mark's did a school supply drive for the teachers of Reeves Rogers. They donated items that were on the teachers' wish list and were incredibly generous. They had a wonderful, wonderful drive for the teachers. They also arranged for a campus cleanup date for November. In addition, St. Mark's has an active after-school tutoring program at the school. So as you see, our faith-based communities come together on a regular basis to help us out, whether it's weeding or whatever the needs are. They're just amazing. Hobgood Elementary would like to thank ETC Gymnastics for sponsoring a child in gymnastics who exhibited talents in the area. John Pittard Elementary would like to thank Kroger's on Las Casas Pike for donating a $500 gift card and a cart full of school supplies to the students. Mitchell Nielsen School would like to thank the Experience Church and Pizza Inn for donating all the pizza for their family night. And wrapping us up, the American Heart Association has given our coordinated school health department a $5,000 grant for CPR kits. The CPR kit will be housed at the district office and loaned out to schools. I want to note that under the leadership of Mary Lee Smith, Coordinated School Health actually has generated more in donations and in-kind gifts than the total cost of their department. So, that is your communications, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mary, very much. I think it's, I think we all agree. We have a large number of businesses and churches and support groups throughout the city of Murfreesboro. And we benefit from their gifts and their donations and their helping, and we certainly do appreciate that. And I know the schools do, but I think I can speak easily for the board that the board appreciates the work from our volunteers and our outside groups as well. Thank you. All right, consent items. I have a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Renier. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, and there is none. All right. Action items.
You do not have any action items tonight.
All right.
Well, if I'd known it'd generate that much excitement.
There's going to be a lot of activity around here tonight, isn't there? All right. How about reports and information? Do we have any of
You
those?
do have reports and information. I'm going to ask Ralph Ringstaff if he would come up, please. And I'm also going to ask Candy Powers to come up. I've asked them to give a report on ESP. And before I do that, though, I want to acknowledge Candy. She was a large part of the after-school summit that was held recently at the Chamber and really did a great job with displaying what ESP is about before the state and some other folks, too. And so when you finish this, Candy, I want you to talk just a little bit about the Lego project. Okay? Thank you.
Well, I was going to introduce Miss Candy Powers, but I think Dr. Gilbert.
Well, let me introduce Mr. Ringstaff just a second, too, while we're at it. In addition to Ralph's job with HR, he over the last few years has taken on ESP and has done a great job with that. So I want to acknowledge that.
This report was only going to last 5 minutes, but it's gotten a little bit longer now. Ms. Powers, she's done a great job. She's handling all the grant monies, and she's also in charge of programming and in charge of our enrichment. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Good evening. My name is Candy Powers. I'm the Grants and Academic Programs Coordinator for Murfreesboro City Schools ESP program. Tonight, I'm going to share just a brief update regarding ESP enrollment, programming, parent involvement, and staff professional development. First, the current enrollment for ESP's before and after school program is 2,633 students and growing. Of those enrolled, 533 students are currently receiving tutoring services from approximately 70 certified teachers after school through our 21st Century and LEAPS grants. This year, ESP was awarded a $10,000 increase per each grant, the 21st and LEAPS, for excellent attendance and participation during the last school year. ESP programming continues to be an area that we focus on to improve for our students with classes such as Lego Robotics, which I'll talk more about in just a few minutes, Hot Wheels Speedometry, Coding with Kids, 3D Printing and Design, Right Brain Books, Design Squad, Ultimate Frisbee, Cardboard Challenge, bowling, soccer, basketball, cheerleading, and many, many more. This year, ESP is focusing on increasing parent involvement through district-wide competitions, exhibitions, events, and jamborees. Some of these include participation in the upcoming National Lights On After School events in October. So all 12 of our sites will have an open house event within a 2-week time period in the middle 2 weeks of October. Also, we will have a district-wide participation in a design squad competition where we'll bring all of our ESP students together at one school, and they will compete in engineering events. We will also have an ultimate Frisbee competition on a Saturday morning. That is a new sport that we introduced to our students this year. They're enjoying that very much. We'll have our soccer jamboree in the spring, just as we have the past couple of years. We will also have a Right Brain Books Authors Night event for the second time this year, and many, many, many other events throughout the year to bring our parents into the program so they know what's going on, they know what their children are doing after school. Also, to ensure that our students are participating in high-quality after-school care and programming, ESP professional development has become more engaging for our staff and administrators, with a focus on using hands-on instruction for new classes, classroom and behavior management strategies, and leadership strategies. Before I close, I'll tell you a little bit about the LEGO We Do Robotics program. 2 years ago, I received a random email invitation to attend a LEGO robotics training in Birmingham. I asked my boss somewhere if I could go, and he graciously agreed, sent me down overnight with one other site director. We trained, came back. Very exciting program. While I was there, I got a phone call, actually I got an email from Randall Allen of the United Way, who just so happened to have some money laying around and wanted to buy us some books. And I said, well, you know, as a matter of fact, Randall, I am at a LEGO robotics workshop. I'd love to talk to you about that when I get back. So the very next day, I went to Randall's office, and they purchased our two initial kits, one for Discovery School and one for Bradley. We implemented those programs, and the children at Discovery excelled, as well as the children at Bradley. The program has grown. The children, as the teacher at Discovery would describe it, if the children are not in that class, because it is for 3rd through 6th graders, they will come to her during the school day with some LEGO figure that they've built as sort of a resume to show her so they can try to get into her class. If she has car duty or bus duty or something in the afternoon that delays her from getting to her class, the kids are at the window waiting, going, we're ready for you. So they're very, very excited about the program. This year we expanded that program to 4 additional schools, so now we have LEGO We Do Robotics at 6 of our schools. As a matter of fact, I met with Randall again this afternoon. He actually has a little bit of funds laying around again and has offered to purchase us another LEGO We Do Robotics kit. So we are going to expand that program again, this time to Scales Elementary. In closing, we would like to share a video which was produced by a teacher at Scales, Ryan Stewart, with the help of Scales ESP Site Director Casey Kreisky. Several principals, several parents, staff, and many students were involved in the creation of this video. We hope you enjoy it, and we thank you for your continued support of the Extended School Program.
The ESP program benefits our students because it extends the care that we give children during the day. This is a safe place for them to be, and they feel comfortable here. They've got staff that they know and who love them, and it's just a great place for them to be, and they don't have to worry about leaving here and going somewhere else.
I was very blown away by the programs and the classes that are provided for my daughter. She gets to do things that otherwise I wouldn't be able to do for her because I do work 40 hours a week, and so being able to put her in a dance class or a cooking class or anything like that, and just to continue to stretch her mind and her creativity after the school hours are over and done with, and she gets to have fun doing it.
My teacher, Mr. Frank, he really helps me be artistic and really express myself. And he's a good person you can talk with.
My favorite activity that I do in ESP would have to be getting to know everybody and making new friends. I really like this place, and it's just been so long that I can't remember when I didn't go to ESP.
I'm honestly very amazed. They keep them very busy. There's clubs, different camps, special activities. So there's definitely never a dull moment. And that there's always staff there with them that's encouraging them and helping them in any of those activities.
So one of my favorite things about being a site director is getting to come here every single day and getting to see the kids. I mean, everybody says, you know, it's all about the kids, but there really is nothing better in the whole world than coming here and these kids running up to you and squeezing you as tight as they possibly can. And before I can even ask them, how was your day? How's it going? They're hugging me and they're saying, Miss Casey, how has your day been? Their love is what keeps me going. It's what brings me here every day. And it's why I'm motivated to create a really fun and enriching environment for them.
ESP is a very valuable program for our students. It's beneficial to the students because they work with their teachers still. It's an extension of the school day. So they're working either with our teachers or with college students, typically from MTSU. So they're getting homework help, they're getting some exposure to more technology, crafts. It's just a variety of things they can do.
Well, I've been here ever since 4th grade, and I actually learned a lot. I learned how to get used to it, because I was really scared at first, but then my friends and the new teachers or the old teachers were like, it's okay, don't be scared, you can trust us, we'll make sure you're taken care of, and they did.
I get to go on field trips and play with my friends and learn.
We have lots of our teachers that work with ESP staff and teach classes. They really enjoy that. It just makes it more of a family atmosphere. The teachers know the staff know the teachers, and I think it really makes for a real cohesive program.
If you could describe ESP in 3 words, what would they be?
Fun, awesome, and helpful.
Amazing, wonderful, and peaceful.
Fun, artistic, fantastic.
Inspiring, amazing, and one of a kind.
Amazing, wonderful, and creative.
Fun, amazing, exciting. It is really fun. Awesome, caring, and I have to say really respectful to us, because they really make us feel like we're welcome here, and they make us feel like this is our second home, and they comfort us sometimes, and they just take care of us, especially if we're in pre-K up to 6.
That was fantastic. And we have one of the stars sitting right here.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A couple of years ago, the board approved for us to have gifted specialists in the district. We now have 3, and I'm going to ask Leah if you'd come up, please. And I don't know whether Stacy and Christine are helping you or not, but I'm sure you can take care of it.
Speaking of gifted, Ryan Stewart, that's pretty gifted. That's one of our teachers made that video. That was fantastic.
I was wondering, did that run on TV? Did that run on the?
We have it on our website, I know.
Well, I mean, if
Good to people that haven't
Murfreesboro
watched that
TV
like we were.
to pick that up, it's pretty fabulous. I would
Yeah.
love for more people to see
Professional.
They need to.
Ryan Stewart's a very talented music teacher. Really, really good.
All right, so this gifted services, we'll catch you up to date on where we are and what we've been doing. First, let you know that we are in the middle of our second Gifted Academy cohort. So we'll have our first of the 4 sessions after our summer program, October 15th. So we met today with Dr. Calder and kind of started preparing for that. So I think we're like up to 75 teachers that we have trained or provided an opportunity for employment standard in the state of Tennessee, which is pretty incredible for a school district to be devoting that much support to gifted students. And also the Jones Foundation has been instrumental in all of that, just a huge support for us, down to helping provide books for teachers, resources, all aspects of that. Okay, so we'll talk about the Scholars Program. On the screen, I've got the, let's just talk about that cute little owl right there first. The Scholars Program, one of the things that when we were collaborating as a group, we felt like if we coined the phrase gifted, that it excluded because of misconceptions that go along with gifted. That we wanted to widen the view to capture any student who had an advanced ability in any way. There are certain levels of gifted or advanced students. We have some that are very advanced in many subjects or many areas, and we have some that might really be advanced in one area. But we wanted to make sure that we are finding any student who has advanced abilities and that we are cultivating and nurturing that student so that they will develop and reach their full potential. So we felt like if we called it the Scholars Program, that it widened that view and helped us to open up the minds of everyone to say, any student who needs support to reach their potential, you're our kid. So that's where we went with that. In the 6 green dots, I also thought before we get into what we've been doing with the services, is to kind of tell you what, I know that when we were doing budget, one of the questions was, what do we do? So I thought it would be kind of nice for you to know, what do we do? What does our work week look like? And to tell you thank you so much for that third person. We have been able to give consistent support to schools kind of in a balanced way. Last year we felt like we had to go wherever their IEP meeting was or wherever we got pulled, and we didn't feel like we could give equal time to the schools. Well, now we each have 4 schools, so we're at each school every week, and the teachers know, sometimes we get pulled here or there, but for the most part, they know that day to expect us in their schools. So we've already seen a tremendous change in just the amount of questions and the people that approach us and ask us for help or support with students. So one of the things that we do is we maintain the IEPs. In Tennessee, gifted falls underneath special education. So we schedule the IEPs, we write the IEPs, we maintain and provide services for the IEPs. We also are child find. So we are trying to help, like that title, Capturing and Cultivating Minds, is trying to find who are those kids that we need to give attention to and detail to and make sure they're not underachieving or hiding or opting out of work. We want to make sure that we're pushing them and that they're growing and making that yearly gain or more. We also, and we're trying to do more with this. We're still kind of working on the Scholars Program and molding it into what we want it to be, but one of the things that we plan to do and are trying to do more of is small groups, working with kids to help check in on their social emotional or get to know them so that we can help teachers. If we don't know them very well, it's really hard to give suggestions to a classroom teacher or to know what the child's needs really are. We also might test students. So we test academics. We can give them achievement tests. We can give them creativity tests. We can give them a general abilities test. So some of our day might be testing students. We also provide teacher training. At each of our schools, we have set up PDs, or we're in the process of setting up PDs that are particular to that school. So like last week at Bradley, the differentiation meeting was, what does Bradley need? What do their teachers need to meet their needs of their students? So we're catering that PD to those schools. Also, like we mentioned with the IEPs, we do one-on-one, or whatever that IEP team decides that service for that student needs to be, we would provide that service. So that's what we do at 4 different schools every week. So that maybe helps understand what we do. Okay, so another thing that if we were going to widen our view, we have to know that there are different levels of support that students need. Some students might be really in need of significant support, and others might need just us checking in or helping the teacher. So through our Scholars Program, we have developed 4 levels of service. We're going to go through those levels of service so you have kind of an idea of what that looks like. So the level 1 is support in the general education classroom. This is any teacher, any student. If a teacher says, hey, I have a student who's pre-tested, I need help differentiating the assignment. The student doesn't have to qualify in any special way. The teacher doesn't have to. You ask, we provide as best we can. So that's level 1, any student, any teacher. And we'll bring in support through tiered assignments or resources or strategies. So let's say that student continually is brought up. It's like, ooh, maybe we need to look at level 2 services because we're finding ourselves talking about the student a lot. So that teacher could refer the student for level 2 services. A teacher can make the referral, a parent can make a referral, or the student can nominate themselves for the referral. It's happened. So in that level 2, that's where we are looking closely at that student. What is that student doing? How are they performing academically? What are their gifted characteristics and creativity? Zooming in on that student, what is their general ability? This is where we might provide our additional testing to see if we can meet their needs at level 1 by just continuing to support the teacher, or whether we need to move to level 3 services. So after we review that information, let's say that they did, indeed, they are advanced, they are performing, and they need us to watch them to make sure that they are growing. Then they would qualify for level 3 services. And this is where we would pinpoint specific things that we're watching on that child, whether it's social, emotional, pre-vocational goals, or a specific academic goal in a specific area, to say, hey, when we talk about this student, we're going to watch for this, and we're going to make sure the student is growing here, and progress monitoring that to make sure. We don't want any student in Murfreesboro City Schools not to grow to maximize what they can do. We want maximum growth and continuous growth for all students. So level 3, let's say that student isn't growing. Or let's say that a teacher is like, man, this student is really advanced. They can automatically refer for level 4, or we can take a student from level 3 to level 4. That's kind of confusing, isn't it? So level 4 is where we would do a referral for comprehensive evaluation. This is where our school psychologists would get involved. This is where they would do that full cognition or any other assessments that we need to determine whether or not we need to change or modify what we're doing for that student so that they grow, so that we meet their social emotional. And if they do meet criteria for the state of Tennessee for intellectually gifted, the team could decide that there was an adverse effect due to the disability and could write an IEP. Or they could say, you know what, this information is very valuable. We now know what to do in level 3 service to meet this child's needs so that we can make sure this child is growing. So, like I said, we're working on this right now. We just purchased a bunch of, not a bunch, but we just purchased some more Legos, Story Starter Legos to work with groups and some creativity puzzles. But what we're wanting to do is meet with those students who qualify for level 3 or level 4 one time or twice a month. That would be our social emotional check-ins. And also we'd like to focus on the 4 C's, the creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Already with some of our groups, we've seen some critical thinking where they want to opt out. They're like, ooh, can I have another card? That one's hard. And you say, keep working. And then when they finish that card, you have that conversation of, what did you do to push through? Or what happens when you feel like it's too hard? If I keep trying, that's right. So then the next time you come and you pull out that game, they look at you because it's hard, and then they say, I know you're not going to give me another card, and they keep working. So working on those types of things. Some differences that we've seen already from having 3 people and from our levels of support. Just by being available. we have places at each school kind of where we put our backpack or our lunchbox, and they know where that place is. They're coming by, they're stopping, they're saying, hey, I have this question, I have this student. Or, can you tell me more about this? I heard about this from another teacher. So they're asking more questions and seeking more support. We're also getting more student referrals, which is part of the process. We need to be looking at students. We determine the level of support that they need, but we need to make sure we're providing levels of support that will maximize growth. It also has given us more opportunities to personalize support for teacher and for student. One teacher a couple weeks ago sent me a pretest and said, here's the standard. The rest of my class needs more, but I don't know what to do with the student. No problem. Let me help you carry the load. I will do the research. I will figure out how to help you differentiate for the student. Give me 24 hours. 24 hours, I go back to the teacher and say, this is what I think. We have that conversation. I check back with her in 2 more days. How's it going? Great. So we helped support the teacher and the student because I was available or they're available. Whereas before we were running all over the place and they didn't know if we were going to be there or not. So that's been amazing. Okay, so questions.
Any questions, Ms. Smith?
Are you surprised?
What?
Oh. First of all, I am very pleased that this board and Dr. Gilbert have taken the initiative to beef up our gifted services over the last few years, and we are rapidly, increasing our support. So I appreciate that. I do, of course, hope that y'all are directly impacting children because you are all such good teachers. So I hate that you're not in the day-to-day classroom. So, I have 4 questions. Are you actually working directly with the students other than testing?
Yes, and that is, again, I'm not going to lie, it's a lot to balance, so we're trying to figure out how to get it all in and what to do, how to schedule it, how to schedule IEPs, and trying to keep IEPs just on this day for this school. Well, if the parent can't make that, then that dips into another school's day. So we're still trying to figure it out, and we kind of got started late in the game, so we feel like we'll have it figured out this year. Next year we'll start right out the gate, but we're hoping, we've made some plans for modules. We're going to start with the creativity module, and after fall break we hope to get those groups started. So not as much as we would like, because we are teachers, we love that.
Y'all are teachers, and I would be very disappointed if some young children didn't get to have that direct benefit from your talents.
And honestly, we need that to feed our soul. So we're trying very hard to get there. It's just that there's a lot to juggle, and we're trying to figure out how to get all the plates spinning.
I get that.
Start the plates. but that's our goal.
Okay. Can children bump up?
To levels of service? Or what do you mean?
Bump up. If they're in 4th grade math, can they be in 5th grade math?
Okay, so one of the things that we've really been trying to give PD to teachers to understand is that when you get ready to differentiate for an advanced student, you have to accelerate the content. If you are not changing the content, there is no new learning for that student. So when you say, is it possible to bump that child up, we like to look at it more for specific standards because they have a lot of holes and gaps. If we take a student from 4th and just put them in 5th because they did well in that, we could be creating problems later for that child. So what we like to say is, how did that student do on that standard? Well, they mastered it. Well, then let's look at the progression of standard. We can either take that student deeper, where they're doing real world, especially if it's their strength. If they love math, then let's give them something really messy and complicated and hard, where math is messy, like the real world, and let them grapple with that and build their mathematical thinking. Or let's progress the standard. What's next in the learning? So we like to handle that based on standard and subject instead of grade level. Does that make sense?
It does make great sense. In fact, I have heard of conversations where they're having some gaps later on. So I see where from children that might have bumped up. So, okay. Where does discovery fit in this?
Well, I'm going to let Stacy come up and tell you, but before she does, I got to brag. So you can talk here in just a minute, but not yet. My microphone.
Well, let me explain, or you can explain, to the new board members, when Discovery School was created, I believe that gifted services were removed from the rest of the schools. Well, of course, not every child who needs to have gifted services is able to go to Discovery School for all different reasons. So that is where these people are so key, because they are going to all of the schools. But we still have a school for high achievers, which am very enthusiastic about that school. But so I just wanted to see where it is maintained.
Well, I'm afraid that Stacy won't give herself as much credit as she needs, and Ms. Maddox. But one of the things that we're doing across the board for all of our schools is trying to implement thinking models. For example, one is called Kaplan's, and it's well known in the field of gifted, but it's to promote deep questioning and depth and complexity in content areas or in discussions. So one thing that Stacy has done is she's really talked to that staff, and they have chosen as a staff 2 areas, I think, that they really want to focus on, like that they can't opt out of. That's where the feedback's coming. That's where they're focusing on. And I think that was in collaboration with Maddox. So with that school, there are, again, misconceptions with anytime we talk about advanced learners, there's still a range of students in that school. They still have to differentiate. They don't all just come with just ready and eager to learn and at the same spot. There's a range. So you want to add to that? Well, I'll share the mic.
So what they've chosen, and all 4 of my schools have done this actually, we talked and we wanted to really make it meaningful for the teachers, because we could walk in and say, well, today this is what we're going to discuss, but that's just not effective. But Discovery School chose creativity as a focus, and they chose depth and complexity through Kaplan's icon model. So it's tricky with Discovery because a lot of these teachers have had a lot of training specifically geared toward high-achieving kids. But I think the bonus I have is I have a relationship with that faculty. So, because I taught there for 7 years. So I think that kind of comes into play. There's some comfort already built in with, hey, Bert, I really don't know if I have my head wrapped around this. Can you come stop by or whatever? But yeah, I'm really excited about moving forward with what they've chosen to focus on this year. But they are keenly aware that there are kids in that school with gaps, and they work really hard, like all the teachers do in the district. But I don't know if I answered your question. But
I think you did answer my question.
Okay.
Yes, they are part of this program. You are specializing at every school what you're doing. Is that okay? So the other thing is, are you targeting specific age groups?
I'm sorry?
For the mommy hearsay has been that you take a test when you're in 3rd grade or 4th grade because the kids are smarter then. And so
a lot of what we deal with in gifted education in our training and in our realm is misconceptions. And a lot of people have their expertise and their training from those areas. So it's not that anybody is bad, it's just that sometimes our professions and our world doesn't get together and have a joint decision. But in the world of gifted, and in any situation where there's a need for a child, early identification is best. The earlier we find it, the earlier or the faster or the more we can be proactive. I kind of look at it like this. We don't want to wait for a gifted kid to start having issues before we start addressing their needs. What we want to do is we want to find kids who have potential to have these characteristics or these results because they're gifted or advanced. We want to watch them and make sure that we're teaching them coping skills, that we're helping them be comfortable in their intensity skin, and preventing these blowouts, if you will, and growing up and raising kids that are secure, strong in their capabilities, who have concepts that are, good, and their self-efficacy is real, but that they're not asking too much of themselves, because sometimes their goals are way too far. Like, what is reasonable to ask of yourself? But those are all like hidden curriculum that when you haven't read the number of things or had like, in a lot of our special education teachers, we share a lot of the same knowledge because a lot of the strategies are the same. So,
Mr. Settles?
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Thank you for your report is excellent. I love it, your information. My question was similar to what Collier was asking. I heard you mention pre-test, and I heard you mention early. So my question had to do with, are we only using testing as identification, or are there other things that we're looking at?
Really good question. A teacher, just from, like, sometimes they'll come to us and they'll say, okay, I've got this kid, and when I ask a question, I'm like, oh, so I really think you need to look at him. So just from observation, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but teacher observation isn't very effective, like, over the research. We don't throw it out the window. But,
but it's a starting point sometimes. That was my question, because I heard you say that that teachers are trained, and I was wondering, was that part of it? Part of the training was to identify students that may.
They have to read a textbook. We work them hard.
I don't blame you. Work them.
Their brains are like soggy at the end of the week. We work really hard. Like after the first year that we did it, we realized what all we did to them, and we were like, we're so sorry, but y'all did great. But yes, characteristics, that's huge. And sometimes if our student is underachieving, we're not going to know from their academic performance. So we've got built in multiple measures, multiple looks. The board approved some additional testing for us for underrepresented populations. So we've got that going. It came in about a week ago. We're meeting tomorrow. We've got to learn how to give it. But it's a different kind of test. It's not like 2 + 2. It's more of a cognitive test. So that's really big. Also conversations. Really that's, again, the beauty in our model. We can't violate what the state says that we have to do, but we can certainly do more. And what we're saying is we're going to do more, because we know that there are kids that need support and help that may not qualify by the state, but they still need the support. And our goal is to raise, again, confident kids that are ready for the world.
And that's part of my second question, which is English learning students. And I think you hit on it a little bit. Maybe you'll open it up some more. And I know, maybe it's just getting off the ground, I don't know. But if you'd speak to that a little bit, how we're identifying those, that population as far as.
Yes, good questions. Okay. But that's an area that across the board, like, in gifted ed, that's something that people are looking at. But one of the tests that we purchased was a nonverbal. So it's pictures, it's puzzles and nonverbal. So we bought that specifically but we also have talked extensively with Vanderbilt, and there's some research to show which 2 tests to give to not miss. We've got some great school psychologists who are, over the years that we've worked together, like, they're really learning and working with that. And like at some of our schools, that when we started the program a couple of years ago, when we started, it was 58 students were identified in the district, and then we have grown, like, we tripled, but then we lose a lot of them to the 6th grade. But some of our schools that had 0 have 12, and it's the state gives us, they're looking at it, but right now currently it gives us some different paths. And I don't think that we used those paths much before, just because maybe I don't know why, we just didn't. But they're really using those paths now, that the state says you can use this. If a student if that's not their first language, if their economics are not there, then you can use these alternative measures, and we're using them. So it's increasing. Do we need more? Yep. We know we are under-identified, but that's one of the reasons why we're doing this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Settle. Ms. Rainier?
Will this, or how will this impact discovery? If you identify more children, will there be an option for them to move to Discovery?
Discovery School is based on, first you have to want to go. because you have to apply. But second, you have to meet the criteria on the exams. Again, we talked to Vanderbilt. Are you talking about specifically for underserved populations, or are you talking about just in general?
In general.
So it really shouldn't affect at all. We actually have been talking about ways to utilize the entrance exam data to go ahead and put kids that need to be flagged to make sure, like if they come in and we have data, knowing that they're already high, we need to be watching them from the beginning. We don't need to wait until there's a lapse. Like, let's watch them all along and make sure they're maintaining. So we've been talking about different things. Again, they're like where we were when we started and where we are now. It's like I can't even believe where we were, and I can't even believe that it used to just be me in 12 schools. Like I'm like, whoa, no. But so we've come so far, but we know we have a lot of areas. Like one thing we really want to target is parents. We want to help support, give parent support too. So there's a lot of areas, but it should not affect in any negative way. If anything, it should help support them as well.
Well, I don't mean in a negative way. I'm just wondering about enrollment. If you have children that you're testing now and they qualify according to state guidelines, and the parent wants them to go to Discovery, how is that going to impact Discovery?
Well, Discovery School has that set number too. So like if they only have 75 fifth grade and no one moves, it doesn't matter, which is one of the reasons why we were so adamant about making service available regardless of where you are. So Discovery School is open to anyone who wants to apply, and as openings are available. So that is certainly, but I'll tell you this, and this is not offensive to Discovery School at all. It's doing great things. I mean, like, I'm super proud, but principals are considering it a huge compliment when their gifted kids don't want to leave because their needs are being met at that school. So I think it's a win-win. Discovery School is getting plenty of applicants. It's not hurting it in any way, but people feel like their needs are being met, and that is an incredible compliment to this district.
It is.
So.
There are really two, we started with two prongs to this. One was the idea of certainly the Gifted Academy, which is specializing, is having people who have the employment standard who can teach. And so then their role becomes the gifted specialist role, who actually have the certification for gifted and the endorsement. Their role is to really help those teachers, and then those teachers that have the employment standard, have been through the Gifted Academy, then help other teachers. So you have that role of the folks that are in the schools, and as you were saying, we've had now 2 academies, and so we have that expanded. Our goal is to have one teacher in every grade level in every school that has an employment standard. So you have that going on, but then in addition, you have the direct services that these ladies are providing. So we really think that it's a good model. It's a model that they developed. My role is really to listen to them and to see what they need, and to listen to principals and see what they need. So I think tonight, if there were a connection between what you're hearing as far as reports and information, I think that thread of individual students meeting the needs of individual students, whether it's through ESP, whether it's through Gifted, whether it's through coaches, whatever that is, and the fact that our principals are taking that role of looking at that, I think is really beneficial for the district, and really speaks well for the district. So the Gifted Academy is something that Jennings and Rebecca Jones Foundation has certainly supported, and Paul Vaughn's leadership in that I very much appreciate. And so they have designed with MTSU, our folks have actually designed the academy with MTSU, applied to the state for the certification for the employment standard, and were awarded that. It takes 80 hours of work to get that employment standard, but I do believe that our model is a really good model. Before we started this model, we sent some folks to Vanderbilt, and we felt like that Vanderbilt certainly was excellent, but what we were looking for is not just the theory, but also the application, so the direct strategies that they could come back with, and that's what we really focus on with that academy. But it's a very powerful experience for our teachers, so I appreciate the teachers that have gone through that, and the leadership that the ladies here have shown with that.
And it's been a collaboration. Like, Joe has been a huge part of helping us figure this out too. And Essence and Lisa Trail was probably an hour at the office table talking about what to call it and what we wanted it to say to the public, but that communication and that PR aspect of questioning us, like, what do you think, why, and then Essence within 2 seconds came up with the scholars, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. So it's been collective. It's been amazing.
Question, Mr. King.
Yeah, I've got a question. First, I feel like what y'all are doing, I appreciate what you do, because to me it's as if you're finding a child that has a gift or a talent that's hidden, and you're literally cultivating and growing this in them and making them be the best they can be in that item. My question is, do you have any evidence or feedback or any anecdotal stories of after the child has left the city school system? You know, they've moved to 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and we've let them go. We've had to let them go. Did we have any evidence that shows that the work y'all are doing pays big dividends as they grow older and go through the county school system?
That, like, I can speak for, like, I know that Stacy has tremendous, but that was from when she was in the classroom and using these practices there. I think that time, because if you think about it, really this is the first year, because all of the stuff that I explained, when it was just me or when it was just Stacy and me, we couldn't do it. Like, we could not provide this level of support without 3 people. And that's what was happening, is we wanted to do this, but we didn't have the manpower to do it. So I think that let's start here, and then let's watch and see. Because this, you know, but that's a good point.
And there certainly are anecdotal stories, though, and I wish that, I know some that you have told me about students who, the frustration level, and then now they're successful, or the students who were not identified
Well,
at
it's
all.
like the little guy that he didn't want to finish the puzzle, and I was like, oh, no, we're going to keep working that. Or the little guy the other day we were working, and he's not used to not getting it first. Well, the other kid in there got it first, and he's the one that didn't get it said, what time do we go back to class? And I said, you don't like how you feel. He got a smile on his face, and I said, it's okay to be uncomfortable. That doesn't mean run. That means push through. Keep working on it. And so he was like, okay, and he got comfortable again. But his reaction was, get me out of here. I do not like this. And I guarantee that he'll come back the next time on his A game, listening and doing differently. It was math,
The other thing that we have heard is from teachers who've been through the Gifted Academy. And we don't know what we don't know. And so, inevitably, I think with both academies, I've received letters from at least 2 or 3 teachers who have said, I wish I had known this students I'd had before, because I know, and they would talk about the students that exhibited the behaviors and the characteristics, but they were not aware. They thought it was a behavioral issue, or they thought that the child didn't want to try. But now they understand what that's about and the difference it's made in their classroom.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Very well done. We appreciate your information. Coaches.
She's laughing because I need to have my eyes tested, and I haven't, so to look at the screen is very difficult. Thank you, Leah. We have some very special people in the room tonight, and I've asked them to come. I want to talk to you just a little bit first, though, about the model that we have in Murfreesboro City for our coaches. When we started this process, we had 2 days of training with Lipscomb, and then we brought the coaches that were there last year, felt strongly enough that we needed to bring the principals and assistant principals in for training also. So I want to give you a little bit of background about the coaching, and then I'm going to turn this over to the coaches. So when we look at what our model is, if you look at the quote there, it talks about enabling, it talks about guiding, it talks about being able to see things in folks, and that's really what the coaching model in Murfreesboro City is all about. It really is a partnership approach. It works on seeing the positives and saying, let's build on this rather than the negatives. It is not about going in and criticizing teachers about what they're doing. It is about looking at teachers and for the positives and saying, let's build on this. It is about increasing their capacity. and it is about the ability to improve student achievement. That is the goal of coaching. What you'll find is that these ladies and gentlemen really share ideas with each other all the time. Not only do they share it with teachers, but they share it with each other. And it's been really remarkable to see the camaraderie and the collaboration that exists there. They really run their own show, working with the teachers at the school. They look and they see what the teachers need. They talk about that. They visit classrooms. They will call each other and say, I have a teacher who needs help with, I know that's your specialty, can you come over? So they absolutely share their talents with each other. What coaching is not a weakness model. So it's not, again, it's not about criticism. It is not about pointing out the weaknesses that teachers have or the difficulties that teachers have. It is not mandatory. It is a teacher's choice about whether she invites the coach in or whether he invites the coach in. It is not evaluative at all. That is the principal's job. That's the assistant principal's job, and we have been very clear about that. It is not administration. It is not therapy, so it isn't a session, a self-help kind of session. It is about increasing student achievement. What it is it's voluntary. It is a partnership between the teacher and the coach and also among the coaches. It is confidential, so the help that the teacher receives, the things that are shared there are kept confidential. It does unlock potential. It does meet each person's need. I think you've heard tonight where we're talking about children and impacting children. This is impacting individual teachers. So it is about each person and what that particular teacher is needing for the coach to come in to help them work on. And the coaches believe that everyone brings their best selves to the table. So they are working from a positive standpoint, not from a negative standpoint, and that is extremely important. The coaching cycle in Murfreesboro City, the coach will meet with the teacher, they will set an instructional goal, they will observe instruction, they will come back, they will discuss with that teacher what they've seen, and I'm going to let them go into that more than me because they certainly know more about this than I do. They do this every single day. They create a plan, the teacher implements the plan with the coach's help, and then the cycle starts all over again. So that is what coaching looks like in Murfreesboro City. And at this time, I'm going to ask that Alicia, if you would come up, please, and Julie, and I'm going to turn this over to you. And I'm going to let you get me out of this since I'm not seeing what I'm doing here, which is not a good thing. All right, go for it. I did.
Yeah. So good at this. Tech challenge. Good evening.
Hi there. Good evening.
I'm Alicia Herberson. I'm the academic coach at John Pittard Elementary.
And I'm Julie Parrish. I'm the academic coach at Mitchell-Nielsen Schools.
So rather than going through and just talking with you about what we do, we wanted to give you a little bit of a visual. So we've got a PowerPoint that we wanted to share with you with some pictures of our peers. And of course, we have 6 of our wonderful peers with us. So we have academic coaches from different schools. So we have, what does an academic coach do? And what we did was we got some quotes from teachers that teachers wanted, like I just asked, you know, what's your favorite thing about having an academic coach here? And I thought they were all really good. But this one says, academic coaches are especially beneficial to new teachers because they're able to spend quality time with them and help them make small but powerful changes without feeling as if they are being judged. It is hard to help a new teacher like you want to when you have your own students to teach.
MCS coaches attend tons of training to gain a broader knowledge base of instructional practices in all areas of elementary education. That's one of the things I'm most proud of to be a part of this district because we have been given the opportunity to receive vast amounts of training, and we are teachers by heart. So without that training, we can't do our job and give them what they need. So we listen to what our teachers tell us, the things that they're telling us that they want for their classrooms. We, as a collaborative team, decide who has specialties in specific areas. Then we talk to Dr. Gilbert about the things that we think that are appropriate. And we're very supported in that. And we have such a vast knowledge base now in so many areas that we did not have before. So the training is very, very crucial.
And I will gladly vouch for the gifted training. And yes, I was with the first cohort, and it was major. We were spent, but it was wonderful. We learned so much. And with that, we can also help our teachers in our building in addition to them. You know, we can help them with the differentiation aspect of it. So I vouch for the gifted cohort for sure. And by tons of training, I mean tons of training. And I know people had far more than me. But if I added up and included the gifted cohort, it would be near 175 hours last year, and this year we'll probably surpass that. And that's not including a lot of like the coach PLC meetings and stuff like that. That's like training. So yeah, we're very trained. MCS coaches plan and lead professional development sessions for district teachers, and this year we had the learning extravaganza, and we trained a bunch of the district teachers through that.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
We're clicking. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry.
Yeah. There we go. And so those are just, all the pictures have some of our coaches in them. So we just wanted you all to get to see some of the coaches in action.
And I think that's been really powerful in our schools. That's another thing I think that needs to be brought to your attention is professional development is popping up all the time. In a 24-hour notice, hey, we would like some professional development on this. Can you help? We call each other, hey, do you have time tomorrow to do this? So we're getting that information to teachers very quickly, whereas before we weren't able to do that. So it's a very important piece of what we do.
And all the coaches share one another. So, for example, Julie has these wonderful phonics tubs, and even though she presented them with the learning extravaganza, a lot of the teachers still didn't get to see it because they were attending other things or weren't back in town or whatever. But Julie will come to your school and she'll do it. So it's just like we literally just call each other because we know we sat and made a list of the things that we felt like, we were pretty good at as far as sharing with other people. And so we just call each other up and just say, we need you to come over and share this with, this team or with the faculty.
And also with the primary and intermediate, all of us have specialties. I'm very primary by heart. Most of my experience is in primary. So going into the coaching, I was a little bit apprehensive about, it's been a long time since I've been in a 5th or 6th grade classroom. And I've had tremendous support from coaches that have that intermediate experience. And I was able to teach in a 6th grade classroom last week. And it felt so good to be able to brush up my skills on that. And so the collaboration between us and being able to offer this to teachers is very powerful. We work closely with the instruction department to support teachers. We are very, very blessed with an instructional department that is nothing but supportive. They are our backbone. They're the ones that drive what we do. And we would be nowhere without them, especially this year. We have implemented 95% into our schools this year, and just as a primary teacher going in and seeing already what that data is doing in schools is tremendous. And especially with kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade, being able to see gaps very early and detect those and having the coaches come in and teach them how to fill those gaps, that's all powered by our instructional department, so we give them all the credit for that. This is more pictures of the department taking care of us. They're wonderful.
They are. MCS coaches created the district scope and sequence and the district benchmark assessments. We worked diligently the past 2 summers on them, like lots of blood, sweat, and tears in those scope and sequences especially, but the district benchmark assessments as well. And just making sure that everything's aligning with what's on the scope. And even with the 95% data, they took another look at some of the scopes and said, maybe we need to back this progression up, and maybe we need to, change the order of this. So it's all been very, very beneficial.
MCS coaches plan with teachers, and quote here, I really like planning with our coach. It's so helpful to bounce ideas off of each other. I've always believed that there is power in number, and when you can get a group of teachers together and plan with them, powerful things happen. And being able to guide them through this process and to help them, we're getting thank you cards all the time from these teachers that said, you know, you have really changed our instruction. Get text messages, 9 o'clock at night, saying, you know, I taught this lesson that you planned with us, and we're just so thankful that you came in. So the planning is a big piece of what we do each day, and I think that it's truly making a difference.
And one of the wonderful testaments to me was a teacher that I so dearly respect as an educator and taught on the same team with her. And she had me come in, and this goes with that willingness aspect of wanting the help. But she asked me to come in and help her with a lesson that she was doing. And we were there for hours after school because we got so excited about it. And so talking about bouncing ideas off one another, she would say something, I'd say, oh, what if we did? And then she'd go, oh yeah, and then we can pull in. And then we could link it too, and we just kept going with it. And it was so wonderful to me because I respect her so much, and to know that there was an equal respect between us, you know, to be able to collaborate together like that, that she would feel comfortable reaching out to me, even though she was, you know, older than me and had more experience than me, as far as number of years, for sure.
MCS coaches model lessons, and that's me with funny glasses on in that picture. Having an academic coach has helped my teaching. Watching a coach model a strategy is helpful instead of just reading about it and trying to implement it on my own. And I think that this is probably, as a teacher fresh out of the classroom, there's been so many things that have been delivered to us, and we'll go to these wonderful services and we get all these ideas, and we're so excited to take it back to our classroom, and then we get to that point and we're like, if we could just see someone do it. And that's what we're able to do now. And to be able to go into these classrooms and model lessons and see teachers take it and create new lessons of their own using those same strategies, it's changing teaching across the district. And being able to model lessons not just in our specific schools, but in multiple schools across the district is taking our talents individually and sharing them in ways that we never could do before. So modeling is really one of the biggest components, I believe, of coaching, because it's not that we're teaching for them, it's modeling for them so they get the visual and they're able to take it and make it their own. More pictures of that. I'm really not good at that.
MCS coaches observe teachers. And this is a quote from one of the teachers, having the coach observe my teaching and giving me feedback helps me make the changes necessary to make sure I'm providing quality instruction to my students.
MCS coaches take teachers to observe other teachers. And my favorite part of having an academic coach is that we get to learn from each other. We learn from the coach, and they're open to learning from us and sharing our ideas with others. It makes us feel like the relationship between teacher and coach goes both ways, which is really awesome.
Which is my favorite quote.
Mine too. Mm-hmm.
Because it's so exciting to be able to go out and share with other teachers the great things that you saw in other rooms. And it's amazing to me to see these other teachers who may not have questioned themselves and had self-doubt. When I say, so-and-so says, hey, can you tell me how to, I got the person. And then, say, hey, can you show so-and-so how to do blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, I'm calling them right now. I'm going to text them right now. I'm going to tell them to come down to my room. It's wonderful to see them get to find that leadership within themselves too.
And this is a piece I really did want to speak on. I think one of the most important things in our district is collaboration. And we have always been a very unified district, but I think that unification has intensified dramatically just in the short period I've been here as a first-year coach. We have teachers now on the same grade level across Murfreesboro City who are now calling each other, who never knew each other before, but because they heard this strategy and they were able to go and see this teacher. Now that's bringing 2 PLC teams together. And then those 2 PLC teams tell another school, and now 3 PLC teams are now collaborating together. So it's creating a unification across our district that is powerful. And for them to be able to be celebrated, and so that others see in other schools the wonderful things that are going on, and to learn from each other, that's great teaching, and that's what makes a great district, and that's what's going to produce results.
MCS coaches meet with teachers after observing them. and then they follow up with the teachers to see what has been implemented and if any additional support is needed. And then this is one of the coaches. I love getting the coaches' feedback and learning about alternative ideas on how to push my students further in order to reach all levels of learners. And the follow-up is huge. Like, even if you just go and watch another classroom, going back to them and saying, okay, so let's talk about this. And that's the one thing when coaches go, when they observe someone else, the coach goes alongside and stands with them, and you kind of whisper to them and walk them through why the teacher is doing what the teacher is doing, like, so that they're understanding all the elements of that lesson. And then when you leave, you start talking about some of the takeaways. What were some of the takeaways? What were some of the things you noticed? What are some of the things you think that you could implement? And then you check back in with them and say, have you tried any of this? And I will say, last year I had a teacher, after I took her to observe, matter of fact, Sarah Todd was one of them, and who rocked it out. But the teacher said, I want you to come back down and see, I've tried implementing this. Can you come down and see it? And she was so excited. And just seeing the gains that she had, and not just in that, but her self-esteem and her comfort with the content, it establishes a new level of enthusiasm.
MCS coaches work with teams to build effective PLCs. We attend and lead PLC meetings. This is kind of going back to what I was talking about with the PLC, across the school, across the district. But we're also within schools being able to go in. We've seen what effective PLCs look like because we're in so many grade levels. And so we've talked collaboratively as coaches too about, what schools do you see really positive and powerful PLCs? And we're able to take that information along with the training that we've received and able to help these teachers, especially we have a lot of new teachers in our district, and so they've never seen the PLC process. So to be able to go in and model that for them and to guide them into creating those teams is very important. And to be able to lead their meetings for them and to show them, how it's supposed to look so that they can take their team meetings from there on out on their own and lead those. And also just being in attendance is so important because that's where you learn where the needs are. That's where you learn what the data looks like. That's where you learn what strategies we can take to them to help them based on what their data shows us. So it's very important. The quote on the bottom of this one, a lot of times the academic coach is able to add some insight as to why something is being done, which helps us understand the why behind the what, which is, I think, speaks for itself.
And one of the things, too, with attending the PLCs is some of those grade levels that don't have buy-in yet, and they're still a little leery, and they might think that it is evaluative, or you're going to be talking to admin or whatever. When you go to those PLCs and you become part of that team with them, they see you in a different light. And two, you start to pick up on some of the things that they're working on, and you can go and pull things and say, hey, I wanted to share this. I pulled these materials from the library. I pulled this. I noticed that you all were this is coming up. You're working on this standard. I wanted to share some of these resources with you. And it gets them to where they're like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'll take a baby step and ask them for some help on some materials. And then as they get more and more comfortable, then they'll start asking you to come into the room and things like that. So it does help that buy-in as well.
The best thing for us is when we walk in and they say, oh, we're so glad you're here. That means we're doing something right. So when we heard that, we were talking with several coaches, and we hear that, and that's important to us.
MCS coaches help teachers collect and analyze data. And of course, this is the 95% poster, and it helped group the students to help the teachers more effectively group their students. It's a whole grade level of students to help group their students for the intervention time.
MCS coaches share instructional strategies. The quote here says, I like learning about different ways to teach the same concepts from our academic coach. And this goes along too with our experience, our talents, but also across the district things that we have seen. And we're able to bring those instructional strategies and make that already really good instruction even better.
This is a coach's corner. Roseanne Barton created a little section of the morning memo for me. and I get to do every day. I can put some little website like, hey, check this site out, or this is a 13 Rules That Expire that I got from Project Inspire training. That's on there. And then also I always try to do a kudos to somebody that shared something with me, which they love sharing stuff with me. And they'll take their time, their lunchtime, their planning time, to come and go, hey, Alicia, I want to show you this. This is so great. And I love that because then I get to share it with other teachers. And then I just give them a shout out in the morning memo. And they love that.
MCS coaches pull materials to aid instruction. This is a picture of Alicia going into the Science and Math Manipulatives Library. That's from Project Inspire, which is one of the trainings that a lot of us have received, and others are going to go through this coming year, have a new cohort going through. We were able to bring a lot of materials into this district, and being able to take those math manipulatives and set up a checkout system for those teachers to be able to come in and use those. So for those schools that may not have classroom sets of certain materials, we now have them, and teaching them how to use those materials, teaching those teachers that haven't had the training like we have with Project Inspire what a pattern block is. It's not just a pattern block. Look at all of these things that you can do with it. We're seeing them use these resources. They're not collecting dust, that's for sure.
And that's one of the things too. They send out every week, and I love that it's week by week, because otherwise the teachers don't have time to think to look at it. But it comes out right before the next week, and it's manipulatives that you could use in every grade level to teach the lessons that are coming up for that week. And one of the things that I've done, which has really boosted the Math Manipulative Library, is I've highlighted. So I go into the Word doc and I highlight the materials that I have. And I'm getting teachers saying, hey, can I check this out? Hey, can I check this out? And I wheel it on down to them. They keep it. They let me know when they're ready for me to pick it up, and I come back and get it. And so that's been wonderful too. And MCS coaches encourage and support teachers. And one of the quotes, I really appreciate the encouragement and resources our coach provides. And let me just say, one of the teachers wrote in when she shared her quote that was on one of the other slides, she wrote, and I like the chocolate. Because whenever you go to observe, you give them a free jeans pass, or you give them a candy bar, or you'll give them a free soda at Sonic, or a book to add to the classroom library if it's a new teacher, and they love that.
It's the quickest way to a teacher's heart.
That's right, especially the chocolate.
MCS coaches help to grow teacher leaders. I think this speaks for itself, the photo does. When you can inspire other teachers to go and be confident enough in their teaching, especially our young teachers who don't have that much experience. Both of the teachers pictured here, they're in their first 5 years, correct?
This was their first year. This picture, they did this last summer, I think, and I think that was their first full year that they had done, and that was the training that we did on the state social studies and math materials, and they attended. This one's a social studies one that they were in, and they got up, and I was like, it warmed my heart because they're from my school, and I was so proud of them. I was like a little mom.
But they're the future of our district, and so those of us that have better half of 20 years experience. We've been here for a while, and so it's important for us to instill these leadership qualities in these teachers and give them the confidence and to let them know that they can, too, teach others. And at this time, we're going to ask for Ms. Cindy Clish to come up and talk about math coaches.
And they are amazing, are they not? I'm just going to say that because I really want to do a concentric circle Venn diagram for this part. Y'all know what I'm talking about there? Excellent. So in the world of coaches, academic coaches, in that outer circle and the inner circle are our math coaches, right? And so I wanted you to kind of meet them because they are academic coaches also. So all the things that you've seen, they are also doing in their schools. So what I wanted to show you and have you meet, because I'm real proud they're here tonight, is first of all, Gail Boyd. She works at Bradley Elementary, and she is our math coach there and supports and really does a lot of work with the growth mindset along with working with the math at that school. Another coach that we have is Alison Murphy, and she is unable to be here tonight. She does 2 schools. I hope they're both up there. Oh, they're not. She does Reeves Rogers and Mitchell Nielsen. So she splits her time between 2 schools. And she's actually, you know, when she talked about the manipulatives of the week, she's working really hard and getting that together. And we're kind of as a team working. But she spearheads that project because of Project Inspire, which is a math grant with MTSU. We did receive all the literature and the books and literature professional books and manipulatives. So we want to make sure that we've received that through the grant that we're using it. So Allison spearheads that project. Then we also have John Simmons from Black Fox, and I don't know what we'd do without him. He is our lone male over there, right? So he is very supportive. So I have a great team, and I tried to think about numbers as I was putting this together and all the roles that they play and all the things that they do. But I thought this, and that's me, City Flush. But I've already introduced myself. I digress. We have, between our team of 4 teachers, over 80 years in math education. I think that's pretty strong. So when we're going into schools and we're meeting with teachers and talking to them, we're bringing experience to the table. We can really say, this is what I've seen, this is what I know. We're reading the research. We have those effective teaching practices for math. Also, our grade band runs from K to 8. Our experience has been all the way from kindergarten, well, I could say pre-K. I didn't put that on there. I should have. Pre-K all the way up to 8th grade. So we have, when we get together, that type of grade band. We know that content spanning all of that. I think that's a big plus for Murfreesboro City Schools. And then the other thing I had to add is they are passionate educators. You know, what the others were saying about academic coaches, think about us. We are talking math all the time. It is not unusual for me at 8 o'clock at night to get a text, John, and, and what do you think about the calculator policy? And what do you think about, and I'm thinking, how many people would live and breathe math all day long, 7 days a week, and not get tired of it? That's the group I work with every day. So I just wanted to just kind of add on to there. As I said, they are academic coaches. They do all the things that you heard before, but then they also bring some other things to the table with that expertise where they've been allowed to really dig into math and support teachers in math. And I really feel like that's paying off with children because, as they said, we are developing teacher leaders, and research shows if you have a teacher leader in that classroom, the children are more successful. If those teachers feel confident and empowered, you are putting the right person in that classroom to teach those students. So I really feel like it's something that will pay off. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Thompson, I want you to take 1 minute, Joe, if you would, to talk about what you've seen as far as coaches in your school. And you only have 1 minute, Joe.
I can't do my PowerPoint. The coaches are great. One thing about the coaches, I've been doing this for 42 years, and I want to thank the board for some of the vision that they've done because it's easy to see what we're doing in schools today. It's kind of hard to make tomorrow happen today, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get when they did Project Inspire, I didn't want to go because at my age, I thought they were talking about Project Expire. And I thought, I didn't want to go to that, but I did go, and it was good. So what I was trying to get is, my job is to make sure that tomorrow happens in a great way in Murfreesboro City Schools. And the way to do that is to pass down what you need to do to your teachers and your coaches. I have 2 great coaches. They work together so beautifully. One's a 6th grade math teacher. One was a 1st grade reading and arts. They've come together. They've made a team. They work with everybody in the school, and they're being very, very effective. And the one thing I'll say is that when we sit in PLCs and we sit in RTIs, it's great to hear what they have to say and do, because then when I can hear all the things the teachers are doing, then I can come with my guys and we can sit and make a better plan for what meets the support of the teachers. Teachers talk in PLCs and teachers talk in RTIs. They talk about what their kids need, they talk about the support they need, and then we're able to go back and talk about those things and put it in a plan and implement it into the school so we can be effective with all of our kids. Every kid in Black Fox, all 820 of them, and that's what we're trying to do. That's less than a minute?
That was great. I've never heard you speak that short. I'm amazed. I do want to introduce, and I don't know whether I can see them all. You've already been introduced to some of the coaches. I think the coaches you haven't been introduced, Mary Beth Young back there, who is new this year to the district. She's at Hobgood. John, you've met. Sonia is at Sonia. You're at Siegel, and then Sarah, who is at Scales, and then Suzanne is at Bradley. And then, of course, you met the ladies here.
All right, thank you very much. Questions, Ms. Smith?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of former district teachers of the year sitting over there. And just like the ladies earlier, I hate that they're not in the classroom. And also, Ms. Klish, your reputation is far and recognized for your abilities with teaching. So there are two things I want to know. So if you have an experienced teacher and there's some apprehension about using your services, how do you help without stepping on their toes because they've been teaching for so long?
Really good question. Sorry. That's a great question. I think the one thing that helps us is we have years of experience too, and we've been right where they are, and we've been apprehensive about trying new things, and we've seen a lot of change. But that's education, and education changes. So the way that I would address that is I would say, you know what? I've been doing this a long time too, and I would be scared to change too, but all I'm asking you is to give me a shot, and let's try this, and let's talk about whether it works or it doesn't. You're never going to know until you try. And most of the time, if you go in humble with them and you go in and you say, you know, I'm right here with you and we'll try it and we'll change the things that you don't like, normally they're on board. It's when you go in and say, this is a mandatory thing that you have to do and we need to start implementing this in your classroom, you're not going to get that reciprocation of wanting to try that. But if you go in saying, I've got this idea for you, I really would like to help you, would you give me a chance? 9 times out of 10, they're going to want your help. You want to add to that?
Well, and just the humility factor is huge. I have learned that they bestow so much more grace upon us when you're humble. And I usually start out when I talk to the teachers because I know anytime you only go in to observe when they ask you to. So there is that willingness factor. And so you don't have to deal with a whole lot of apprehension because it's not forced upon them. So they're asking you to come in. But it's still nerve-wracking, you know, when you're having a peer watch you teach.
Right. I would think there would be a little bit of like,
right. But
they're watching me and I haven't done anything wrong.
Right. No, but they're inviting us in when we come in. But I always start mine with just saying, let me start by saying, if I were still in the classroom, there's a lot I'd have to change. I'd have to change a lot about what I did. And the more I learn, the digger I dig, the digger I dig, like that, for example, the deeper I dig, the more I realize that, you know, there were things that I could have done to increase rigor, to challenge my kids more, to differentiate differently. You know, so I think once you say that, then they're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, they're just like me, you know?
Yeah, I know. So y'all have to work it a little bit, and then you seem to be received after you.
Yes. Well, and then some teachers will ask you to come in, and they'll literally look at you and say, please, rip me apart. Just rip me apart, you know?
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. The other thing is that I hope that your roles are so different at the schools, and I hope that y'all are included as part of the school family.
Very much so.
Been welcomed with open arms. I was terrified. You can ask Ralph and Dr. Gilbert and all the people who graciously gave me this job, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful for you for giving us this opportunity to do this, but I was very apprehensive. I had been, for the most part, for the past 15 years with the same group of people, and I walked in and knew about 3. And so to go in and for them to welcome me like they did, they do treat me like family, and I feel like I've been there for a very long time, and I'm thankful for our administration, Robin and Terrence, all of them. Dr. Campbell, they've all been wonderful to me and very supportive, and the teachers have been very receptive. I've been in every single classroom and been able to work with each PLC, so I feel very, very blessed to be a part of their team. So yes, we are welcomed.
And word spreads.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is get one person to buy in. And once you get one person to buy in, and then they go, oh, look what so-and-so did. Look what they helped me do. Like, they helped me do it. And then the other person's like, well, I need that. Like, I want that too. So then they'll ask you to come in, and it just keeps spreading. So you just have to get one.
Fantastic.
Thank you, ma'am. I love the questions. I'm sorry, Ms. Rainier.
This is just real quick. These two ladies I taught with for many years, and they're excellent teachers, as are, I'm sure, all the others. Suzanne, I know over there, a couple of them. But Julie was Alicia's student teacher. So they're working together.
Best student teacher I ever had.
See?
Ever had. It's no, and I don't say that because she's standing beside me. And no, really, she was the best student teacher I ever had, and I was her first placement.
She was an incredible mentor, and now she's a coach. And look what she created.
Mr. King?
Oh, and Cindy Clish was my mentor teacher when I did practicum. So, see, I've been grown.
Yes.
Just got a question. I see what you're doing as a complete win-win. To me, the kids are getting not just good instruction, but great instruction. That's a win. But for the teachers, after you finish with them, do you think their satisfaction in their job is better than when it was? They feel like they're doing a good job. And I'll be honest with you, today for me was one of those days that you just, did I get anything done today? What did I do? And I joke that even a ditch digger can turn around and see the progress he has made. But today wasn't one of those days for me. I get from what y'all do that you're literally helping the teacher see the progress they're making. Am I correct?
Yes.
So their job satisfaction is higher than it would have been?
I absolutely think that. And I mean, absolutely think that. And what I love the most is when the teachers will say, I'm not doing anything special. I want you to come in and see what I do every day, because that's where it's going to help me the most. I'm not going to do a dog and pony show for you. I want you to come in and see, I want you to see me raw.
As is.
And I love that because I'm like, well, that's where you're going to get the most help. You know, and I mean, and a lot of times it's little tiny tweaks where you're just like, you know, have you thought about this? I saw a lot of the kids struggling, you know, creating a Venn diagram. Have you thought about doing a double T chart? They can draw that quickly, but when they're drawing the Venn diagram, they're sitting and erasing something small, and they're just like, I love that. That's so, you know, that's a quick fix. You know, things like that they love. And I even had one come in, and she didn't do what she was wanting to do. And she came in and she cried. And I felt so horrible, and I was like, I'm so sorry. No, I'm so. And she looked at me, she goes, this is the best day I've had all year. Because she wanted confirmation that what she was trying to do, because she was trying to change what she was doing, she wanted confirmation that what she was trying to implement wasn't working. And so she knew then, she was like, I can abort this ship, and I can go this direction. And so we went and we observed a couple of teachers, and she was like, I got it. She asked, please come back in next week. I've got it. And I went back in, and it was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. So that was wonderful. Like, literally, though, when she started crying, I was like, oh, my God. And
but now there'll be tears of joy.
It was literally, she was like, no, this is the best day I've had all year. I needed, because I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And I don't know why I waited so long, you know, but she said I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I needed somebody to, you know, give me affirmation that it wasn't working. And it was wonderful.
I got a text just last night from a teacher that said, thank you so much for introducing me to phonics tubs, which is something that I had tried to help her implement in her classroom. She said, I feel like I had the most effective reading block instruction that I've had in all of my career. So that's why we love our job.
Because it's still teaching.
It's still teaching.
Mr. Ballard, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, yeah, I do. First of all, you're infectious with your enthusiasm and your excitement about what you're doing. So I'm excited now from hearing you guys.
But we coached you.
Yeah. So hey, tell me about the coach. Man, maybe this is for Dr. Gilbert. I guess this is a pool of coaches that that are in this pool that can be dispatched at any time to go to different schools and different curriculums? Is that?
John, would you come up for just a second, please? I'm going to pick on John, and I'll tell you why I'm going to pick on John.
Sorry, John.
John met me in the hallway one day, and I would say almost without exception, and this is why I'm grateful to be able to work with these folks. Almost without exception, I think every one of these folks has written me and said how much they love what they do and how glad they're doing what they're doing. But John stopped me in the hall one day, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go because Joe and I talked, and Joe had talked about John being his coach. But would you talk about what you've learned? Would you talk about what he just said and what you found and what it means?
Just the opportunity. I was saying just the opportunity to see mathematics develop from first grade all the way through. I'd always been in a sixth grade classroom, and a lot of these folks give me more credit than I deserve. But I just, in seeing that progression and through it, and having the opportunity for us to link that learning from the beginning to the end was just overwhelming to me when it first started. And they'll tell you, I'm a huge vocabulary math person. I live in math vocabulary, and understanding how that now we have the opportunity to build a foundation of vocabulary for these kids that carries on through is overwhelming. And just the opportunity for so many teachers that have contacted, I said I've never felt like a rock star until I got on Mastery Connect and realized how many people were following me. And I don't know why they followed me, but they did. And it may be boring for them, I don't know. But just to see how many people are interested in that and having the opportunity to share that, we have to just say thank you to you all, because I would have thought when I first started teaching mathematics in this system, you had no one to go to. I mean, you were kind of on your own. And I have people now who approach me every day and say, will you just, come in and see this, or will you look at this and tell me what you would do? And just having that opportunity and the time to share those things and to go out and research and provide good, meaningful tasks and vocabulary issues for our kids, it's priceless. And I said I wished I would have had this opportunity when I was a younger teacher.
Talk about the sharing that goes on across schools.
I got to say thank you to my principal, Mr. Thompson. I guess, supposed to be in one building. He is my kind of supposed to keep me chained in one place. But we've had other teachers from the district that were new to sixth grade, and he has been so gracious to let me go out and to go meet with those folks and to share the knowledge that I have of the content of sixth grade. So we're able not only just, I'm supposed to be in one building, but Joe's kind enough to allow me to go out and to share what I do have to offer with so many. And once you do that, it just creates a family. And I mean, we have people now who contact with math questions that I'd never met before that it's a wonderful situation to be able to share what you've learned over 20 years in the classroom with folks and good practices, like they said earlier. And then bringing good people like Cindy, and I agree with you all. I met Cindy years ago in the first cohort I ever went to try to get some help with mathematics. And now being able to use all those resources, our kids are going to be the benefactors of all of that. And our principals having the insight to say, hey, you know what? I know you're mine, but go help somebody who needs help. Mm-hmm. And that's what this district's all about, and that's what this position is. And we just say thank you to you all, because without your foresight of saying yes to this situation, we'd never have the opportunity to share this. And I truly believe it's beneficial for every teacher in the system that wants to take advantage of it. And these ladies are wonderful. I've seen them in action. They like I said, they give me too much credit. They're wonderful for what they do. But it's just the inside of all of these people getting together and say we can help each other. And in the end, like I shared with Linda, it's all about these children. And we never lose the sight of that. If you can strengthen a teacher, you're going to strengthen a whole room of children. And just being able to touch lives from first grade through sixth grade now is an amazing thing. And I just thank y'all for the opportunity. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I still didn't hear, though, how many you have in the pool.
We have an ELA teacher in every school. So we have, and you all funded that with GP. We have schools that have chosen to take title. In fact, Cindy's position is actually funded out of title. And we have a math coach now at Black Fox. We have a math coach that's shared between Mitchell Nelson and Reeves. We have a math coach that is at Bradley. Mm-hmm. Is that it? Am I moving one out? Right. So the GP budget funds the the English Language Arts coach at every school. And then the title schools, title has to be on top of what's normally funded. And so principals came to us and said, can we use our title money for that? And that's what they're doing.
Okay,
Now, Cindy is paid, the way she is paid, she's able to work across the district. So it's not just in the title school. So that's the beneficial part too with her, because by her being the district math coordinator and working closely with Joe and the team, then she's able to impact all schools.
Well, it sounds as a very good program, and I'm sure that it is. John Simmons, I'm going to pick on you too for just a minute. He knows what's coming. John started his career in education at Walter Hill with Mr. Dick Conley in 6th grade and did student teaching there. And had it not been for, well, no, I'm not going to say had it not been for me, John, because you did very well, but we did help you move along a little bit. Proud of you. We have followed you a long time, even with your adopted mother that's in my house. Congratulations to you. And every group of women needs a good man behind them. Yes, John. John, yeah,
You are not advancing your political career.
I hope Janie's watching tonight.
Right.
In your case, probably so. Okay, thank you very much. Very good report. Revenue and expenditure, Mr. Anderson.
That's great to move right into the math stuff at the board meeting.
Yes.
I just wanted Cindy to note, I did raise my hand, Cindy, when you asked, does anyone else think math's 24/7? I did raise my hand when you asked that question from the podium.
What was that?
Never mind. We're at the 16.6666%. I thought I wouldn't round off since the math people were here of the year. Last year at this time we were 1,191,000 down. This year we're 1,288,000. Difference is about $97,000 difference. On the revenue side, we still only have 1 month of sales to show because the reports, they don't balance up at the right time when our reports come out to you. So we are right on the same pace on revenues. Sales tax collections are up some, and we have no clue yet about property tax. We won't know that until they start coming in December and January. On the expenditure side, we have a little more expenditures. One reason was because we had more of the capital outlay done this year during the summer than the previous year. And the other reason was since we pay our hourly people every 2 weeks, in this particular month, it fell in where we had 3 paydays during this month instead of 2. So that ran our expenditures up in that, and it balances itself out as the year goes on. But does anyone have any questions about the financial report on where we are?
Thanks, sir.
Okay. The next item is the enrollment picture. I gave you the enrollment on the day after Labor Day. That's one of our benchmark days. We were up 14 students at that time over last year. Since that day, as of today, we've grown an additional 22 students. So we will continue to grow, but I just wanted you to see that what's happened since then. Our pupil-teacher ratio still district-wide is 19.83, with our K through 3 at 18.99, and our 4 through 6 at 21.29. So we're still doing real well on that. I forgot to write down that we were at 97% on average daily attendance. I forgot to type that one in. I'm sorry. Interestingly, our pre-K CDC, we're up 23 students over where we were last year at this time.
Wow.
And we're up 9 students in our K6 CDC. So we do expect to continue to grow during the year, and I know at the retreat we'll be talking about enrollment numbers, things like that.
So our actual total enrollment is 8455? Is that right? You say 22 more than the 14?
Now, as of, you mean as of today?
Yes.
It was a total of 22 in addition to that, so yeah, 82, 55, 84, 55, yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, any questions on that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your personnel report is there. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to talk with you about that after the meeting.
Now, do we have all of our academic coaches on board?
Except for one. Except for one at Discovery, and I'm working with Christina on that.
Okay.
You'll remember that Sia was at Discovery, and she's the new assistant principal at Reeves.
Okay, other business item?
My question is, do you want TSBA to facilitate the evaluation? It's time for us to start that process. So I'm assuming that you do, but I wanted to just confirm with you all and get a consensus on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. They've done a good job in the past.
Okay.
I had sent you a communication pertaining to a meeting with the legislators. Now, if we can discuss that tonight, or we can do that at the retreat, whichever. I do know that the board chair for Rutherford County has contacted me to see whether or not we want to go with them and partner with them and have a joint meeting between the two school boards and our local legislators. It could not be until after, of course, the November of the election. We have possibly 2 new people in that delegation, and they are looking at either possibly December the 5th or the 12th, which is a Monday night. I guess I just kind of need your opinion on whether or not we want to do that.
My opinion is the more we can do with legislators, the better. I would, as we spoke about earlier, like to invite them to travel to some of our schools just with the school board members to see and get to meet our fabulous teachers and see the students who we care so much about and how they can help us with their policies.
The October 21st tour?
I do not want to do it at the same time.
Oh, you don't want?
I do not. My personal preference is to break it apart because
two different sessions.
2 different sessions. That would be my preference because I want to talk about schools, and other elected officials might want to talk about other issues while they have the legislators there.
All right, let me let's get an answer on the other, and then we'll talk about the other thing maybe tomorrow night. Mr. Barrett?
I was just going to say, I'm in favor of the December meeting with the Rutherford County delegation. We've always had a great time doing that, whether or not our legislative delegation listens to us. It's another option altogether. I wish they would. We've told them many times on several issues, but I'd like to get them in a room and tell them how we feel about some of our issues. And I like Collier's, Ms. Smith's idea about the separating the meetings out. We have our own concerns. The city has their own concerns. They actually have a lobbyist. We don't. So we have to do our own lobbying. So I like her idea of having those separate meetings.
On the bus tour?
Yeah, on the bus, or just touring the schools, exactly. Just us with our legislative. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Renier, comment?
It just left me. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Ballard, do you have
Good. I think it's a great idea to meet with them.
Anybody else? Mr. Settles?
I agree with Jared.
You what?
I said I agree with Jared.
All right, thanks.
Okay, all right, very good.
Yeah,
Thank you. I will pass that information on, and we will see what Rutherford County decides to do. Anything else coming before this board? Don't forget retreat tomorrow night,
And
5:30 at the City School Central Office. Mr. Settles?
the retreat will just be us, the school board members not, or staff as well, or how does it work?
No, sir.
My first retreat.
Anybody can attend the retreat.
Anyone can attend the retreat. I have another question, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. Have we heard anything from the city as far as a liaison?
As far as what?
Liaison.
City council.
I have not. Have you, Dr. Gilbert? No. That's up to the Mr. Mayor. He does that appointment. All right, anything else coming for our board? I have a motion. I'm sorry, Mr. King.
One quick comment. A lot of what we heard tonight, there's a show on PBS, Nashville Public Television. It's a 2-hour program, and I've only seen the last 30 minutes. It's called The School of the Future. And they go through a lot of examples about what they're doing in schools. They have big city urban schools, rural schools, you name it. But at the end, I've only seen it the last 30 minutes. At the end, everybody they've interviewed in that 2 hours, they're asking their opinion. What do you think the School of the Future will have? And they all, and some of the people answer, the School of the Future is we're going to teach to the students' emotional well-being. We're going to teach to the whole child. That's what the School of the Future will look like. And I'm sitting there going, that's us.
That's us, yeah.
But talking about the Lego robots, I've heard 3 different sources over the past few months say that if you, and it's also in this television show, if you introduce science into the elementary schools, particularly at girls, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, it brings more girls into science or specifically engineering. And those are some of the jobs of the future, good paying jobs that girls never consider. And when we did our bus tour, that was in the Discovery Schools library, was one of those things about getting girls interested in engineering, but you did that through math and you did that through things like Lego robotics. We are the School of the Future. If you get a chance to watch it, it's 2 hours well spent.
Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Thank you very much.